The buzzer is sounded on the trade deadline. Who won, who lost? Matt and Haize are here to tell you. Plus, while you were working the trade machine, we got our first look at a De'Aaron Fox, Victor Wembanyama combo, and Chet Holmgren is back. That's all today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And with me are two of Locked On's premier national NBA experts from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior NBA writer for the Action Network. We've got the man of 1,000 podcasts, Matt Moore, and from the Locked On Bulls podcast, we've got Haize. I hope that both of you have had some time to recover from the blitz of news off this trade deadline. And now that we've all had a sleep on this trade deadline, who won the deadline? That's what I want to know. And who lost it? And if you say for the winners, if you say the Lakers, you have to give me another team as well. Matt, we'll start with you. Who won the deadline?
I'll go to the Los Angeles Clippers. How about adding Bogdan Bogdanović, veteran player that can help you win? They picked up 3 seconds in that deal as well. They move off Terrence Mann and Bones Highland. They were looking to drop Bones Highland and PJ Tucker just to clear salary spots. They got rid of both of those guys, got them off of the sheet, and they add Bogdanović, which I think makes them a little bit better. That's a pretty good piece of work, I thought, by the Clippers. So I will go with the Los Angeles Clippers as a team that won the deadline.
I'm going to go, well, I would say the Lakers, but I'm going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers that won the deadline because I think they got better. And it's kind of easy when you're at the top of your conference to just, want to see it through. They made a move that made them better in a lot of ways that, they probably would have been fine at. And I think it has made them better equipped to go up against the Boston Celtics when it's all said and done as well. I love them getting Hunter. I love what that did for that team. So I'll say that the Cleveland Cavaliers, for the move they were able to make and continually get better, they won the deadline, other than the Lakers, of course.
All right, let's hang around that Cavs deal because, a lot of the major deals were done ahead of Thursday, but that was the one deadline. I don't know if we want to call it a surprise, but it was one of the major actual deals that got done near the deadline. The Cleveland Cavaliers acquiring DeAndre Hunter from the Atlanta Hawks. Let's go to Danny Cunningham of Locked On Cavs for the what and the why on the deal.
He is the prototypical small forward that the Cavs have been searching for. He's a solid defender. I don't think he's a great defender, but he is absolutely somebody that if and when the Cavs see the Boston Celtics in the postseason, he's going to be matched up on Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. That is what that is going to be his job. And there are some lineups that I think should be really exciting to look at. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, DeAndre Hunter at the 3, Dean Wade at the 4, and Evan Mobley at the 5. And I think that on both ends of the floor, that can be a really, really dynamic group. Having the creation of Garland, Mitchell, and Mobley being able to create as a big too, plus the switchability that they'll have between Mobley, Wade, and Hunter, I think is something that's going to make this defense better than it has been.
Okay, Matt, what do you think? Does it make them a more of a threat to the Boston Celtics' hopes of repeating as champions?
No, I don't get there on this one. So there's a clip immediately that circulated of Tatum just absolutely cooking DeAndre Hunter, and you don't add a piece to try and slow down those. If Jason Tatum is going ISO and he's trying to put the Celtics on his back, you're in a good spot. You want that. That's fine. Hunter, I think, adds a more reliable fifth option. It's a good ad. It's a good trade, right? Like I agree with Haize that they won the deadline because they did find like the fifth guy that they've been looking for to complete that 4. And they don't have to keep kind of cycling through options. But Hunter isn't a guy that's like, oh yeah, he's got this specific skill set. Now maybe he's better than he showed in Atlanta, because I think most players are than they show in Atlanta. But I just don't see this as like swinging anything with the Celtics Cavs matchup. That's going to be about, can the Cavaliers hold down the number of threes the Celtics get up? Everything else is just details to me.
All right, who lost the deadline? That's the next question. And we're going to go to Locked On Magic host Philip Rossman-Reich, who was very disappointed that the Orlando Magic failed to do anything to improve an offense that even with the return of Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner has struggled mightily. Let's take a listen to that.
Orlando Magic stand pat at the trade deadline, and it is a huge mistake. They need more offense. They are the second worst offense in the league. They are the worst three-point shooting team this league has seen in more than a decade. The Orlando Magic haven't been out of the bottom 10 in offensive rating in 12 years. For the second straight year, the Magic did not make a deal at the trade deadline. Orlando, as constructed, is not where they want to be, is not good enough to win home court advantage, probably and possibly to win a playoff series, and certainly not good enough to compete with the top teams in the Eastern Conference.
Okay, Haize, thoughts on the Magic doing nothing at the trade deadline, and give me your loser or losers at the trade deadline.
So I think that I understand why the Magic didn't do anything. Like, see what this team is, reassess at the end of the season. I get it that as fans, we all want it now. We want it now. We want it now. But I think with all the injuries and everything that the Magic have had, it kind of makes some sense to say, all right, let's see how how strong we can finish the season. Let's see how healthy we get and how those players perform together. I mean, they have such a good defense that I do think that they can compete in the Eastern Conference. Not saying they can come out of it, but I think that they can compete in that Eastern Conference and then go into the offseason and make your moves there. So I'm not too mad at the Magic waiting and punting. As far as losers of the deadline, I mean, Nico Harrison himself is a loser. We're just talking about one person. But outside of that, franchise, I'm going to say my Chicago Bulls. Mainly because it seems like not because of just the lack of movement, but because they don't really understand where they are. The fact that our president of basketball operations is still talking about potentially making the playoffs with this team shows that that's a lack of fundamental understanding of where you are as a franchise, and that is problematic.
Hey, but you know, maybe you can win with 9 to 10 good players.
Oh, boy.
All guards, though. 9 to 10 guards. Like, it's just guards. We have 9 guards. I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
Okay, so I will, on the Magic point, I just want to add this. Here's who leads the Magic in three-point percentage this season. It's Mo Wagner, who's out with injury. One of their centers is their
That's
best
insane.
shooter from three at 36%. Not even that good. 36%. Next up is Gary Harris. Tristan Da Silva, a rookie, is fourth at 33%. Woof. Yeah, they needed to make a move. The other loser, I will say, Milwaukee Bucks. Your culture got so much worse here. You move Chris Middleton and you pick up Kyle Kuzma, and then you get Kevin Porter Jr. Come on, man. Like, the Bucks, I think, based off everything I heard, we're really working towards trying to do something big. But the fact that they did the opposite of what fans get frustrated with, like, you didn't do anything. The Bucks just did stuff to do stuff. Didn't trade Bobby Portis. Didn't move Pat Connaughton. All they do is they add KPJ and swap out a franchise, honestly, like, not legend, but just below that probably in Middleton, for Kyle Kuzma. What a bummer of a deadline. The Bucks vibes got way worse at the deadline.
Worse vibes, Bucks or Suns right now. The Suns locker room being described as toxic by, I believe, Ramona Shelburne of ESPN.
Yeah, we'll go the Suns there because the Bucks, at least, like, Giannis, pretty fun dude. I don't think anybody's having fun in Phoenix right now.
Haize, it's tough to argue against Nico Harrison and the Dallas Mavericks for being the biggest loser of the deadline simply by the fact that the team seems to be scared of what's going to happen when they return to the home crowd. They're like warning folks for player safety. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. That's insane. Moving from insane to terrifying. Want to hear something terrifying? The Hawks may not have been losers of the deadline, but they certainly got worse, and they don't own their first round pick. Do you know who does? The Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs own a potential first round pick that could become Cooper Flagg. Coming up, we're going to talk about De'Aaron Fox's stellar debut with Victor Wembanyama, plus have the Houston Rockets lost their edge? And speaking of scary, Chet Holmgren, he's back. That's all ahead on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%, plus you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at robinhood.com/gold. That's robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for hanging with us here on a Friday and making Locked On NBA your first listen. Maybe it's your first watch every day on YouTube, youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA. Subscribe, like the videos, tell a friend about what we're doing here every day, talking NBA with a couple of experts, Matt Moore and Haize. Guys, a lot happened while fans were furiously trying to game out a superstar for their favorite team. While you were trade machining, De'Aaron Fox made his debut for the Spurs with 24 points and 13 assists and a 1-point Spurs victory over the Hawks on Wednesday night. Haize, what have you made so far of the early returns for De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama?
Spurs fans should be excited. They should be big excited, and I'm jealous because this is already, if it looks this good this early, just the way that these players are going to be able to develop together and grow. If I'm a Spurs fan, I'm ecstatic about what my team did at the trade deadline as far as getting a running mate to go with Wemby, because this, hey, I tell you what, no practices together, anything like that, they're going to make the play-in this year, and that's a scary thing, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think it's obviously like a great start. We'll see kind of how it settles in and how they figure out stuff. One thing that's interesting when you kind of watch it, I don't want to overreact too much to that first game because a lot of it was just like ISO stuff where it's like you just kind of give the ball to Fox and he hits a three or whatever. I also think that what's interesting, though, is as much as the long-term goal is to get a relationship and a chemistry between Fox and Wemby, Chris Paul and Fox knew immediately. Like, there was so many sequences where those guys were exactly where the other one wanted to be. They understood how to play because they're veterans. So those two guys understand how to read the floor and make things better for each other. And that's going to help out the rest of those young guys as they figure things out. There's still going to be a lot of clunkiness, I think, with the rest of the Spurs offense because they just are. They don't have everything that kind of clicks into place. And some of that's just Victor's not a complete player yet either. But the talent is apparent. And when they're in transition, it's amazing. There's just like a lot of stuff to like about what San Antonio is building, I think.
Yeah, a lot of ISO, but late in that game, it was Fox, Wemby, some pick and roll actions, and Wemby able to get the offensive rebound off a Fox miss where the defense was really focusing in on Fox. So some promising things to take away. Let's hear from Locked On Spurs, who debated if the Spurs should consider a wholesale identity shift to match their new star guard.
Just revamp everything. All right, we got this quick guard. We got Wemby who can probably keep up with him. Let's change this. We are now running gun, or you think it still needs to be that defense first mentality that the Spurs have been preaching for decades. I think they need to speed it up a bit starting today, or yesterday when they played against the Hawks. Why? Because you saw some of the Spurs losses this season revolved around pace. The Chicago Bulls, one of the fastest teams, beat them. You throw another, Indiana beat them in France with that pace. And I think too with Fox and Wemby, I think they're probably going to set that tone quick. They got horses as well that can keep up with them too, from Keldon to Devin to Jeremy. So that aspect of it, yeah, I think you could probably expect a faster pace.
Locked On Spurs also talking about Chris Paul in that episode. Make sure to go check it out. The Spurs hanging on to Chris Paul at the deadline. Matt Moore was just speaking to some of the benefits that would have for them on the court that it had for them in that first game. Haize, I want to get your thoughts on that as well. Does it benefit the Spurs to hang on to CP3, or will it be a source of tension on or off the court between the Fox and the Castle minutes and balancing all of that?
No, I think you can. I think Chris Paul is a player that understands where he is at this point of his career. I think you can get him to buy into something, and I think overall that Spurs culture there, you can get a player to buy in. So I don't think it'll be any tension on and off the court to make it work. Now the coaching staff is going to have to make sure everybody gets their touches and they have a system to where everybody feels involved and nobody's getting phased out. But I actually like the idea of Chris Paul as the old wily vet to stay on that San Antonio Spurs team.
I feel like you can get away with three guard. I just feel like you can get away with 3 guard lineups with San Antonio, right? I think you can play all 3 of them. I don't think there's going to be tension because I think you can play Chris Paul, De'Aaron Fox, and Stefan Castle together.
All right, while you were trade machining, the Houston Rockets have lost 5 games in a row, including 2 terrible losses to the Brooklyn Nets. Here is Locked On Rockets host Jackson Gatlin after that second Nets loss with lots of questions and really only one answer.
Dylan Brooks the only player like making a play towards the basketball? Like I'd have to go back and rewatch everything to see like where Aaron Holiday was, where Jalen was, but like nobody else made an attempt to meet the basketball. Nobody was setting a screen to try and free somebody else up. Like it was awful. It was like these guys had never seen a full court press before. What I'm struggling with and what's been frustrating with this team for the past 3 games is a clear failure on the players' behalf of making good decisions, especially in the closing moments of these games. And that's where the youth is really showing.
Matt, agree or disagree? Is this a youth issue, or have they lost an edge that they had early in the season once they began to separate themselves with OKC and Memphis from the rest of the West?
I think the defense has slid a little bit. I think that's a problem. One thing that I think is apparent here is Fred VanVleet missed this game. They need him. Like you just do. You need him. And there's been talk from Rockets fans about wanting to go in a different direction because he's old and they have all this great young talent. You need vets, man. You need somebody who's going to bring everything together, who's going to keep you organized. They also don't have that guy. And this is the thing, right? Is Jalen Green's just not like it's not his. Whose team is this? Is it Şengün's? Is it Jalen Green's? Is it Amen Thompson's? Or is it Ime Udoka's? It's Ime Udoka's. You have to have somebody step forward and be the guy. And if they don't find that, that's going to be a problem when you get into the playoffs because you can't just run and try and find easy opportunities. Those don't come in the playoffs. That's the stuff that they're going to have to work on over the next couple months.
Yeah, I think this Houston Rockets team, this is a team that we all knew was kind of ahead of schedule. When you look at, like, this is the first time they're doing this. So them having this little bit of lull in here doesn't really surprise me too much. It sucks, and I hope that they're able to find their way out of it. But I think if they can figure out some things over that All-Star break, come back out of the All-Star break and find a way to get back firing on all cylinders, they'll be okay. But this is something that we see with young teams that are in their first year of really playing at the level consistently as they're playing. So the defense is slid, the chemistry's, maybe not chemistry, but the cohesiveness is slid a little bit. But I think they'll be able to figure it out overall. As far as the answer of whose team it is, I think right now it has to be Ime Udoka's team because none of these young guys have proven it's theirs yet.
Can I just like make a more broader point? Because I think this, when they were kind of struggling, when they first started struggling with some clutch games, Rockets fans were like, well, look at the clutch numbers. They're fine because they're 17-13. I'm a stats guy. Like I have a billion metrics I can throw at you. I will tell you, I do not trust the clutch numbers for telling you whether or not you can trust in a team in clutch time. That's got to be an eye test thing. You have to be able to look and see whether or not those guys have the ability, if they know what they're doing and if they're executing. Otherwise, too much of this inside 5 points, inside 5 minutes, there's a big difference in 2 different games with a 5-point lead. It can feel totally comfortable and you're in control, or it can feel like this could go either way. Don't know what's happening. I do not trust clutch numbers, I don't think, for telling me who's actually going to be able to execute in those types of situations.
That's interesting. It doesn't seem that head coach Ime Udoka thinks that the Rockets are passing that eye test. You dropped this quote after their latest loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Matt, you dropped this quote into our group chat. Ime Udoka on Anthony Edwards, quote, It's nice to have a special player that can get buckets at the end, unquote. The little subtext there, I think, just a little bit, just a teeny bit. All right, we'll see how the Rockets, if the Rockets can bounce back over the weekend. But coming up, we shift our gears to the top of the Western Conference. That, of course, is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're getting even scarier. They're getting their one of their best players back. Chet Holmgren returns. We'll talk more about that on the other side. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Game Time. Looking for tickets to your next big event, whether it's a concert, a comedy show, or a sports game. Going to see some sports ball. Find the right ticket at the right price. It can be a headache. But with Game Time Picks, it's never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Game Time Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so that you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. I've been using Game Time Picks for a while now, and here's why I love it. You've got curated deals that make it simple to find great tickets at great prices. No more sifting through thousands of options. I recently grabbed a super deal for a prime seat, and I couldn't believe the value. The seat view feature is the game changer. Before I even hit buy, I can see exactly what my seat will look like in the venue. It's very reassuring. You're laying down your hard-earned money. You want to make sure you've got a good view. The seat view feature is awesome. And the best part, you're covered with Game Time's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal somewhere else, they're going to refund 110% of the difference. And your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen. Maybe it's Locked On NBA Game Night. They're recapping every game every night. Make sure to check them out over the weekend. While everyone was focused on the deadline, Chet Holmgren threw up the bat signal, literally, on social media, and the Thunder declared him ready to play tonight. This shocked a lot of people, including Locked On Thunder host Rylan Stiles.
The fact that Chet Holmgren is going to play basketball before the All-Star break is extremely impressive. I can't find you a single person who would have predicted that he'd be back pre-All-Star break. The most important things to watch is how does he attack the rim on both ends? Like, is he still just eager to go flying through the air for a block? Is he still able to, quickly roll to the rim? And even before the injury this season, he'd been really good off the bounce getting to the rim. Is he still attacking the rim hard? If both bigs do start, the thing you're watching for is how are they staggering those two bigs? Who comes off the floor first? Shea will play the whole first quarter. That's what Shea does. He'll play the whole first quarter, play the whole third quarter, play half of the second and fourth quarters. So who's going to be the big that they want playing with J-Dub? And no matter who starts, who sits, or if they both start, that's going to be the biggest question. How do they think that they can maximize the lead guard?
Woohoo! That's some juicy X's and O's there from Rylan Stiles, the kind of insider info that you only get with Locked On NBA and our Locked On local host. Great episode there from Ryland. So what do you think about that, Matt? I mean, how should they handle this? Should they start both Chet and Hartenstein? They also added another big in the trade deadline in Daniel Tyus. How do you think OKC handles this, and how scared should the rest of the league be?
It sounds like they're going to buy out Tice. I think scared, I don't think is the word. I just don't think you can be scared of this Thunder team. I think they're really good. I think they're going to have to show you. They're going to have to put that fear into you in the playoff series. They're going to have to leave you walking away going, man, we knew they were good, but geez, like that's where you've got to get to. I think it's got to be matchup dependent. If you're facing a team that goes double big, go double big. Like if you're facing the Nuggets, go with Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, because you can have Chet play weak side without Hartenstein defending Jokic. That's what you want to do. If you're playing a smaller team, if you're playing the Warriors, maybe you go four wings and Chet, right? The versatility. I think you can mix and match because that's what you're going to need to do in the playoffs. I don't think this combo is going to be, yes, every single game they should start together. I think it's going to be matchup dependent. And with the fact that Hartenstein is okay coming off the bench, which great for him, that allows you to do this. Take advantage of that. Be flexible and match up to your opponent.
I think at least initially that they're going to just bring him off the bench. I mean, don't rush throwing him back into the starting lineup, especially since he is coming back before the All-Star break. See how he fits in, try some different matchups and lineups between now and the All-Star break, and then figure some things out coming out of that. But I do think we're going to see Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet start a lot, specifically in the playoffs, because I think, I get what Matt's saying, but I think they have the chance of forcing teams to play to their style if they can do it, and if it works. If it works, I think they can do that. Definitely against double big lineups, but I think initially, just as he's coming back, you're going to bring him off the bench more than likely, and then figure out your rotations as you go coming out that All-Star break.
We talked about Fox and Wembanyama, the guard big combo. Now you've got Shea and Chet. We'll see what they can do this season. Like, where do you rank these guard big combos that we have? Who's the best guard big combo in the NBA right now, Matt?
It's tough. I think I'm going to go with Russell Westbrook and Nikola Jokic because Jokic has been that good. Like, Jokic has just been that dominant, and Russ and him have such great chemistry. So that to me is a pretty good one. Actually, you know what the answer is? It's Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns. That's it. Those two teams can't guard it. Like, there's nothing you can do. If you switch it, then Brunson's going to cook your big. If you blitz it, then Brunson's going to hit Cat. If you play drop, then Cat's going to have an open three. Like, there's just no answer for Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns.
Those are good answers. Haize, what you got?
Yeah, I agree with the Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, but I'll actually double back and I'll say still Jamal Murray, Jokic. I get it. Russell Westbrook and Jokic are great. I'll still say Murray and Jokic as well.
Okay, let us know what you think on YouTube, youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA. It is Friday. That means it's time for our favorite things of the week, and we've got plenty of time to marinate in it. Haize, let's start with you. What's your favorite thing? There's a lot. There's a lot to choose from. Maybe you have multiple ones. What's your favorite thing of the week?
Nick and Steak's reaction to the Luka trade in our text thread. Me, him, and Pat. Literally, it was like 1:00 in the morning when he finally responded. Like, seeing Nick and the reaction over this whole week between on the podcast, off the podcast, and the reaction to the Luka trade. That's been my favorite thing of the week.
What was your favorite thing of the week? Haize, other people suffering?
Yeah, listen, I suffer as a Bulls fan every day. So yeah, other people suffer.
Everyone else.
Does it count as Schadenfreude if you also suffer? That would be the question. Okay.
I'll go with Pistons Cavs this week. The Cavs, the physical game, Pistons frustrated because they can't kind of complete the comeback. Tense game between division teams. All these central division teams hate each other, by the way, which I love. Pacers, Pistons, Pacers, Cavs, Pistons. Like, it's great. They all hate each other. Jared Allen sets this absolutely wicked screen in retaliation for what he felt was an unnecessary bump on a Pistons player, sends him sprawling, and immediately they blow the whistle, and they do that. Both teams are like, whoa, 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 and they're like getting up each other's faces. Jared Allen turns and just immediately walks to the bench and sits down because he knows there's going to be a review. Just like immediately turns around, goes down, and it's just like, what do you want me to do? Like, and just sits there. Like, the fact that I love it when the veteran players are just like, well, we know what's going to happen. We're going to be here for 10 minutes while they review this thing for an hour. So I'm going to go ahead and have a seat. I love stuff like that. Great sequence.
Oh, man, I've got so many. I've been stacking up favorite things of the week. Speaking of Bulls suffering, I mean, we touched on this earlier in the show, but I have to read the full quote from Karnisovas here, the Bulls VP. It says, quote, "There's different structures that you can try to get to a championship. There's 2 to 3 star players and then a lot of role players, or you can build it as 9 to 10 very good players." I just need one follow-up, which is give me an example. When's the last time you got to have a star, right?
You know what he's alleging there? That's a crack at the Celtics. That's what that is.
I guess.
That's, hey, they don't have a superstar. They've only got Jason Tatum. They won with everybody being pretty good.
Well, I can get on board with like 2 to 3 superstars, but I mean, yeah, that may be a crack, but I mean, Jason Tatum, certainly, I think you can put him and Jaylen Brown in star roles. And that leads me into my second favorite thing, which is that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are going to be teammates on one of the All-Star teams that were selected by Shaq, Chuck, and Kenny. And I looked at who they selected, and it was immediately obvious to me that they had colluded together to one person selected all veterans, one person selected all young players, and then you had Chuck selecting all international players. And so now you're going to have three very different, or at least as close as they could to doing that. You're going to have three very different teams, plus the Rising Stars team that's going to be coached or picked by Candace Parker. You're going to have four very different teams going at each other. That was amazing. And then my final favorite thing was courtesy of the Portland Trailblazers, who are doing something really awesome with technology. They're the first pro sports team to bring one court's haptic display to every home game, letting blind or low vision fans feel the game in real time through a device that vibrates to let the person know where the ball is and when baskets are made. It's totally free for fans to use. And this is the kind of innovation that I want to see across sports, because sports should be for everybody. Kudos to the Blazers for leading on this and the technology involved. So that's super cool.
Yeah, amazing stuff. I thought that's a great one, Doug. Way to shout that one out. My last one, by the way, Miles Turner's Survivor tweet yesterday. I've cackled about it about 18 times.
Yeah, it was great.
There were a few players around the league who were tweeting things of that ilk, that, hey, I survived another trade deadline. I don't have to pack my bags. I'm here. Get over it. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On NBA. If you like what you heard today, this week, during our 1 hour live trade deadline special, make sure you're subscribed to the show. Tell a friend. Subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including on YouTube. Thanks so much for making us your first listen every single day. Enjoy tonight's action. Enjoy this weekend's action. Be kind to each other. And we're going to see you right back here next week on Locked On NBA.